He has returned safe and sound from the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, where he asked all the pertinent questions, including, do you believe in space? From ESPN.com, it is our friend Rob Demovsky. Rob, good morning. How are you?
Do I believe in space?
Yeah,
I was not there for that fine. I don't even know who that was. What player was that said that?
His name is Tyler Owens. He's from Texas Tech, and he's led us to discuss where you draw the line on questionable behavior or questionable intelligence, whatever you want to put it. And Tausch and I both referenced his father, Denny, who famously said, and you always saw Denny in the press box as well, but his saying was talent outs. So you'll put up with a lot based on talent. Do you agree with that assessment?
I mean, talent and production, Aaron Rodgers, case in point, from 2008 till 2021, and then in 2022, not so much.
Right. I got to talk to our mutual friend and one of our favorite people, Ron Wolf, yesterday because of some of the things that Goody said at the Scouting Combine. And you were there for it. What were the things that jumped out the most to you from your time with Goody at the Westin?
I got to be honest with you, not a whole heck of a lot. It was, we had heard from him, 3 weeks ago, right?
Yes.
Or thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that a whole lot had changed other than, I mean, it's pretty clear, not that we need a Goody to tell us, but it's pretty clear they're moving on from David Bakhtiari. You know, when he said, we'll have that situation cleared up here soon. Well, if they were going to keep him, there would be no reason to do anything soon. But otherwise, then they would have to, if they kept him, they'd have to carry this whole cap number into free agency and until they did figure out whether he could play or not, and so they're not going to do that. I think that was number one. I mean, if you're into backup quarterback talk, I mean, he gave a pretty strong endorsement to Sean Clifford while also saying they'd like to get back into the business of drafting quarterbacks on a regular basis, which the aforementioned Ron Wolf did so often and so well. I think that, that they I don't know that Goody necessarily said this, but from what you could gather from talking to other people, agents among them, is they are clearly going to be starting over at the safety spot. There's no question about that. And as it would pertain to Darnell Savage, I know that his agent, Seth Katz, met with the Packers, what was today? They met with them yesterday. And I have not talked to either party since then, but my assumption would be that Russ Ball would have told Seth that, hey, you know what, we're going to move on. Good luck to you in free agency. There's going to be somebody that pays Darnell Savage $7.5-8 million a year. It won't be the Packers though.
So, just wait, Rob. You breaking some news on WT this morning
About Savage?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Jason, do you know Savage is?
I just know that Rob
kind of figured.
I would just say this, especially during the Combine when Rob is one of the top movers and shakers in the agent realm.
He's a mover, all right.
I trust his word on something like this. Yes.
Yeah, I don't, it's not necessarily like set in stone. Just like Bakhtiari being released isn't set in stone.
David being released is pretty much set in stone.
Yeah, I think the writing's on the wall. And from what Jeff Hafley said he wanted in a post safety, I think we heard that description, and I think that was another sign that that they were going to be moving on. Probably from all those guys, probably from Rudy Ford, maybe Jonathan Owens as well.
Oh, Jason.
I know, I like
right,
Rudy.
Jason,
I'm going to miss him.
Ford.
Yeah.
So, Rob, what about the other ones? Obviously, Aaron Jones is going to be back, but did you have any, as you're moving and shaking through Indy, any contact with any of his folks, and as far as what that deal's going to look like? And then I'm intrigued by Devondre Campbell. I think Savage and Campbell were the ones that I don't have a great read as far as where Green Bay's going. You gave me a good inkling what your tea leaves are telling you. What about Campbell and Jones?
Put it to you this way, Tausch. The last thing I did before Alex called me for this was working on my Devondre Campbell is released story. Just I like to have things ready to go. If Devondre Campbell is cut and is designated as a post-June 1 cut, they'll save $10.5 million on this year's cap. Now, if they do it and don't designate him as post-June 1, which means they want to eat more of his dead money this year, and they'll still save more than $2.5 million. I just don't see how there's any way that they don't release Devondre Campbell unless he's willing to say, you know what, I've got my March roster bonus, which is only about $3 million, but let's take that off the books. You don't have to pay me that. And then we lower the salary as well. Maybe there is a possibility that he does that. But with anything with these guys, and it's why Preston Smith, I'm sure, agreed to do what he did. Preston Smith is still going to make $10 million this year. If you were Preston Smith, you had to think about it like this, Tausch. If they cut me and I refuse to pay cut and they cut me, am I going to get $10 million from another team at, what is he, age 30? Was he 31?
31, yeah.
Yeah, so there's no way. So, sometimes it's smart to take the pay cut. Other times, perhaps in Devondre Campbell's case, it might be better financially for him to say, you know what, I'm not taking the pay cut. I'm going to take my chances that I can get more on a longer-term deal with somebody else. And as for Aaron Jones, just real quick with Aaron Jones, I don't know that they'll have to necessarily do anything in terms of a pay cut. They might move some money around to pick up some cap space. But if I'm Aaron Jones and I say, I took a pay cut last year, $5 million or whatever it was. I know I was hurt last year, but look what I did the last 5 games of the season. You need me, and I know you're not going to cut me.
Yeah, and Rob, what do you think about A.J. Dillon? Any words floating around how that goes? Because as you said, this is where all of this stuff gets done. You start getting an idea of other teams that are interested in you. Will A.J. Dillon be a Green Bay Packer next year?
You know what, Tausch, that's an interesting one because here's how I think that plays out. I think he, is not signed in the first, wave of free agency, which is, typically reserved for the big ones. And then I think, as we get into week 2, if there's not, if there's not a big market for him and no one's willing to give him a long-term deal, I could see the Packers bringing him back on a 1-year deal. And there's an agent that sends me a chart of what he thinks every single free agent's APY is going to be. And he's not always right, but he studies this quite a bit. And the chart on A.J. Dillon says between 1.5 and 3 million per year. Typically, with a guy that low, it would be a 1-year deal. I don't know if it's a 1-year, $2 million deal. I could see him coming back, but maybe there's somebody out there that would pay him a little bit more than that. But I wouldn't close the door on A.J. Dillon necessarily right away. I just don't think that's going to be resolved immediately. Either way, they're drafting a running back. I mean, there's no question about it. One other thing that was interesting to note from Goody was that he did say that he's like, sure, I'd love to have 2 guys like Aaron Jones, but you're not going to find 2 Aaron Joneses. But he did say, I always want to have a bigger bruising back for a short yardage third down. And if they let A.J. Dillon go, do they really have that? I mean, I don't think Emmanuel Wilson is necessarily that. He's maybe a little bit.
Derrick Henry's boys with LaFleur, wasn't he? Derrick Henry.
How old is Derrick Henry?
He's old.
And how much would he?
He's old.
Cost? Let me see if he's on the chart. I don't know if he's.
Yeah,
on
what's his chart say?
You
got one of those wristbands that you just flip it up. You got it on your wrist, and you flip that up, and you say, "Oh, here's my running back."
Derrick Henry just turned 30 in January, by the way.
And is Derrick Henry a free agent, or is he? No, he is a free agent. So
yes,
the range on Derrick Henry is 5 to 7 million per year. I don't see them spending that much. The running back range is just real quick. It's Saquon Barkley 8 to 10, Josh Jacobs 7 to 9, Tony Pollard 6 to 8, and then you have Derrick Henry as the next. So he basically would be the 4th highest paid free agent running back.
Tony Pollard coming in.
According to my guy's chart.
They're not signing Tony Pollard.
I don't think they are either. Rob's right. They're gonna draft in. What do I have on my list here? 7 of 167. they will draft a running back in one of those 7.
Dude, change they've got 5 in the first 91. Just do that for now until we have the compensatory picks, would you?
Yeah,
I know you'll do
Rob
what you want.
Wait a sec, Tausch. 7 picks in the first 160. What did you say?
167 is what my
and how many?
I have my little flip card.
Might want to fact check that.
What round does that take us to? Like the 5th?
Yeah, Tausch, tell us more about your chart.
No, I think it's 5th round. Yeah, that's what. That's the. Okay. And I know there's compensatory picks that still come, but it is interesting to hear that you're looking at rebooting. So if you're guessing, and we don't know, we've heard Brian Gutekunst say that we have some draft capital if we want to go get somebody. Does that mean? Yep. Do you really think that he is going to go and maybe give up some of that capital to get somebody that's not a free agent? A Budda Baker, safety is the position you think they're going to be aggressive outside of the draft in acquiring some new talent. Would that be a fair assumption?
That is a fair assumption. I do think it would not necessarily be trading for a veteran safety. I think it would be signing of a veteran safety, maybe I'm just throwing names out here, but maybe a Jordan Whitehead or a Julian Blackmon with who I believe is with the Colts. Maybe a Jordan Fuller, who I believe is a free agent, right? With the Rams? Last I checked. So I don't know. I do think when it comes to trades, though, on the actual draft weekend, Goody loves the have the more at bats theory, right? Like the more swings at the plate, the more chances you're going to hit one. But in this case, with the roster the way it is, Jason, they have so many young guys that I'm not sure this is a year that they can keep 11 draft picks on the roster like they do, like they have the last couple of years, right? I mean, last year, Lou Nichols was the only draft pick not to make the roster, if I'm not mistaken. And Lou Nichols was injured, probably makes it instead of Emmanuel Wilson. But, the year before, I'm pretty sure they kept all but maybe one of their draft picks. I don't know that you need that this year. So maybe you do, take some of that and move up to the earlier portion of the second round or the earlier portion of the third round if you love guys. I don't know if they're making a first round move, whether it's up from where they are or back into the late part of the round, like they did with the Clay Matthews year. I don't know if I see that, but I do suspect that there will be. You have that many draft picks, you're going to do something with them, and hopefully it's not acquire more because we don't need it to write any more 7th round draft capsules on the last day of the draft.
You hate to write that.
Some of them are better than others.
7th round draft picks, Rob.
Talking with Rob Demovsky from ESPN.com, who was at the NFL Scouting Combine. All right, a couple of things that piqued my interest. The Aaron Jones thing. Do you think, and I know you've got great relationships with agents, to me, the solution is you extend him. You spread out the $17 million he's due this year over 3 years, so he gets what he's due to be paid. But then you have options to move on from him if he falls off the table or age catches up with him. Do you agree with that theory?
Yeah, I mean that's been their MO with all of these guys. But doesn't he? I don't have his contract in front of me, but doesn't he already have some void years in there? I'm not. You can only prorate it over 5 total years. Anyway, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he doesn't have void years in there. But that is, Jason, that is the way they typically have done things to, get the immediate salary cap space and kick the can down the road on what it will.
So he does have void years. What do you do with those? You know the salary cap well. You and Andrew Brandt are very close.
Yeah.
Can you extend him and wipe out the void years with real years? Do they have that as an option?
Boy, now that's a tough one. That one I'm not sure. Right. I do know though that the void years don't void until you've reached the year right before the void year. And his
this is the year before the void years. Yeah.
Is he devoid of void years?
But his didn't void because Darnell Savage's voided, Josh Nyman's voided.
Correct.
So there's a mechanism in there to where his must not void. Yeah, it doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't void until you're right at the void year.
Correct.
So you can't. So if he's got 25 25 through 27 in void years, probably.
That's what he's got.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can only add one more void year on top of that anyway, because you can only prorate it over 5 years, no matter what.
All right, so I know we got to let you go because you got to get ready. Who do the Redbirds have to start tournament play?
I guessing it's Cakewalk City tonight.
That's not till 7 o'clock, and it's the same. It's a rematch of the same game you saw in the regular season finale. It's the undermanned Preble Hornets. Matt Schneidman walking into the season finale put the line at 43.5, and 42.5, and we won by 42. So
indeed.
But I got more things to take care of before that. I got an eye doctor appointment at 10 o'clock. So.
Oh well, the way you look when you raise up your glasses and then put your phone up against your nose to see what's on your phone, that's good that you've got an eye appointment. But there's two things I want to hit on. One, this idea that coaches are no longer going to the scouting combine. You know, you are a mover and a shaker. You would run into Matt LaFleur at various restaurants. I used to be putting together our sports writer dinners, and then at night you were out there. You were getting information at the various eateries.
Some of the best things were running into, Luke Getzey and Alex Van Pelt and James Campen and all those guys out at Prime 47 or Kilroy's or whatever the case may be. But it's Jason. The Packers aren't the only one not signing coaches. I think it's a couple of reasons. One, the combines. It seems like it's a little earlier than it used to be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's closer to the end of the season. The other thing is, let's be honest. Brian Gutekunst probably doesn't really care what the coaches think, unless it gets down to we get closer to the draft and they do say, all right, we're going to give each position coach these 10 guys to watch tape on. But at this point, I'm not sure that Brian Gutekunst really cares. And I'm not saying that as a rip on LaFleur or his coaches. I just think that's the way scouting has become. I think that's the way Goody likes to do it. There's a lot of people who believe the scouts should scout and the coaches should coach.
Yeah, and I think Goody's one of them. I think that's pretty clear. All right, I don't want to make you late for your eye doctor appointment, so you're spotting dimes, you're eating onions.
I'm sitting right outside the doors, and they don't open until 10 o'clock, so I'm okay.
Dimes.